Chapter 15. Zero. Tessa counted off randomly. She flinched, expecting explosions and flames and everything falling in on her. Nothing happened. Um, Zero now? She thought, still flinching, still holding on to Gideon for dear life. It figured that Tessa was so pathetic that she couldn't even time a countdown correctly, that she finished with her noble, dying thoughts too soon and had to have one of her last thoughts be, um. Still nothing happened. Tessa relaxed her flinch a little and tilted her head back. She could see the sunlight still streaming peacefully in through the window, lighting up the gold in Gideon's hair. He was still holding on to her, still sobbing against her shoulder. My fault. All my fault. If there's anything left of us after if there's anything left of us to find after we're dead, Tessa thought, people will think this is so romantic, us dying in each other's arms. But it wasn't actually romantic. It was awkward and uncomfortable and slightly embarrassing to be lying there like that, Gideon blubbering out his apologies. And somehow Tessa had stopped believing that they were about to die. Tessa pushed gently against Gideon's chest, pushing him away. Gideon, she said hesitantly, do you think maybe you might have been wrong? He stopped apologizing and lifted his head and looked at her, confused. Look, Tessa said, pointing toward one of the windows. See any bombs? Gideon stared at her a moment longer. But he shook his head and scrambled up, back into the pilot's seat. You must have been wrong about the target's location, Tessa offered. You were in a hurry. It's easy to make a mistake at a time like that. I was trained, Gideon said through gritted teeth, to never make mistakes, especially not when I'm in a hurry. He was back to typing and tapping. Tessa crouched beside him and watched. The computer seemed to have gone to sleep mode, but Gideon brought it back to life. He froze the picture of the blips of light and the bombs falling over the X, and then he clicked on the X to get exact geographical coordinates. Then he moved that picture to the side of the screen and called up another image, the start of the video Tessa had first seen on her own computer in Gideon's room, the one showing the bombs falling over the marketplace, with the mothers and children and babies dying on the ground. He froze this image as well and circled the numbers at the bottom that Tessa had ignored before. She stared at the numbers now and figured out what they were, the geographical coordinates of that bombing. That was why I needed to watch the video before, back in my mother's place, Gideon muttered. I needed to memorize the coordinates. Okay, maybe this place and this place are the same, Tessa argued, pointing at each side of the screen as she studied the numbers. They were identical. But you must be wrong about where we are. Gideon opened up a smaller portion of the screen and typed in, give exact coordinates of this plane. A lengthy string of numbers showed up on the portion of the screen. Gideon circled all the numbers and enlarged them, stacking them on one on top of another. All three sets matched exactly, down to 5 decimal places. Satisfied? Gideon asked in a harsh voice. Tessa shook her head. She touched the dotted lines, frozen mid-fall from the blips of light on the computer screen. Then these aren't bombs, she said. Or they were all duds? Empty casings? She was proud of herself for coming up with this explanation. There were rumors sometimes back in Waterford City about how the stories the military told about their glorious victories couldn't all be true. If they were, don't you think we'd have won the whole war by now? Not just a battle here and there, some people argued. Gideon enlarged the bombing image so that it overshadowed the trio of matching numbers. He unfroze the image, letting the footage advance. T minus 3, he intoned. T minus 2, T minus 1. On the screen, the dotted lines streamed down to the X marking the target. Then the screen blanked out momentarily before flashing the words direct hit, direct hit, direct hit. See, Gideon said. He began typing in yet another flurry of numbers and letters, bringing up even more indecipherable code. Though now that she was watching more carefully, Tessa noticed that the code always included the geographical coordinates Gideon had shown her earlier. All the data in the entire military system shows that we were incinerated 3 minutes ago, Gideon insisted, returning to the same screenfuls of information again and again. Everything shows that. Except that we're still alive, Tessa murmured. She glanced over her shoulder and confirmed that the sunlight was still streaming in the window. From this angle, she couldn't see much else, but was that shadow a tree branch swaying gently in the breeze? Was that faint chirping she could hear actually bird song? Tessa tapped one of the minimized portions of the computer screen, the stopped footage of the people dying in the marketplace. Show me the video like this of the bombing that you say just hit us, she said. The video with all the details, then we'll see what really happened. I can't, Gideon said. That always comes a day or two late because it's from spy satellites that we only get the downloads every other day. That's why he was staring at the screen at the image in the marketplace a moment before the bombs hit, when everyone was screaming and running as if they actually had a chance to escape. That's why I was so happy at first when I found out how many people I'd killed. It was kind of a record for a single pilot in a single day, and everyone was slapping me on the back and punching me in the arm and congratulating me. I didn't think of it as people, you know? He touched the screen lightly, his fingers practically caressing the faces before them. Not babies, not children, not anyone it would be wrong to kill. Couldn't you see any of that from your plane flying overhead right before you dropped the bombs? Tessa asked, and she was surprised that her voice came out sounding so harsh. Gideon flinched as if she'd hit him. I was never in that bomber, he said. Pilots in the military always fly their planes remotely, from computers hundreds of miles away. We're sitting at a desk. We're safe. All we see is what the military wants us to see, the X where the target is, and the blips of different colored lights for our planes and the enemy's planes. That's how it always is. Didn't you know? Tessa thought about this. Had she known that? Everything about the military and the war was always so vague and far away. So, look, everyone, look at your great hero, Gideon Thrall. Not, look, everyone, wouldn't you like to see and hear what he really did? Her face twisted. She'd fallen for it, too. Back at the award ceremony, she'd admired Gideon as much as everyone else. She'd admired his courage, when all he'd done was sit at a desk playing a video game. A game that killed people. Don't feel bad, Gideon said softly, clearly misinterpreting her grimace. It's not exactly a secret how things are done, but the military likes to make it sound like we're always flying off into danger, risking our lives to protect everyone else. Tessa glared at him. Let me get this straight, she said. Had you ever actually even flown a plane before last night? A plane you were sitting in for real? Gideon bit his lip and shook his head. No, he admitted. Then the only brave thing you ever did in your life was the way you were trying to commit suicide? Tessa asked. Gideon gaped at her. Not suicide, he protested. Not that. I was trying to make amends, atone. There was no other way. I couldn't undo what I did. I couldn't bring anyone back to life. So I thought the closest thing I could do to making everything right was to just apologize. And then you expected the enemy to kill you, Tessa said. I heard you what you said. You were asking to be punished. Her head spun. Her stomach churned. This was a nightmare. She'd believed in him. In that moment that she'd dived for him and shut the door, she'd believed completely that he was still noble and true and heroic. That even if she took a bullet intended for him, it would be worth it. She wouldn't have minded sacrificing her own life for his. But now, she didn't know what to make of the bombing raid that the computer insisted had just happened. She didn't know what would happen next. But she had definitely put herself in danger for Gideon. She'd risked her life for him. And he'd never been anything but a fake. Tessa, Gideon said pleadingly, and it was like he was asking for her to look at him the way she looked at him before, when she'd idolized him. I'm going to die because of you, Tessa said, for no reason. For nothing. Something rattled behind them, and Tessa realized how foolish they'd been, talking about bombs that actually hadn't fallen, about a massacre that happened ages ago, when both of them were in danger now. It probably hadn't been more than 10 or 15 minutes since Gideon had stood in the door of the airplane asking someone to kill him. He'd just gotten a 10-minute reprieve, while the enemy gathered their forces, plotted their strategies. Tessa whirled around, her eyes quickly scanning the door in both windows. Maybe there was still some hope. If the enemy was trying to get in through the window on the left, maybe she and Gideon could escape through the door to the right. But as far as Tess could tell, there wasn't anyone trying to get in through the door or either of the windows. Instead, the handle of the closet door was jerking up and down on its own, as if by magic. That was the source of the rattling noise. Where does that lead to? Tessa hissed to Gideon. Outside? He didn't answer. He was already jumping from his seat and scrambling toward the closet, his hands stretched out toward the handle. He clearly planned to hold it shut, his brute strength keeping out whoever was on the other side. He was too late. The door sprang open, swinging outward. And then someone rolled out behind the door. A kid. A kid who was all big eyes and a too thin face, mostly hidden behind spikily cut dark hair and ragged clothes. The kid blinked, the outsized eyes taking in the sight of Gideon standing over her and Tessa looming nearby. Oh, crud, the kid said. You were supposed to be gone by now.